Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show we're talking about TV shows of supernatural fantasy and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The 100 as well as the series premiere of The Outpost. Like always, if I'm talking about something that you want to listen to, you can always look in the description down below. I include a time when I start talking about each of the respective shows. So, for example, if you want to hear what I say about this week's episode of The 100, you can skip to what I say about the series premiere of The Outpost. But the first thing I want to talk about is this week's episode of The 100. A great episode. A lot of stuff went down and we're gonna have to break down bit by bit. I love that basically it's just while one thing is happening on one side, something else is happening on the other. It's just kind of like this constant thing of like nothing's working out exactly perfectly, because obviously you have like the whole like almost borderline, usurping of the throne, dealing with the whole Warner Crew situation, but then you have like the borderline civil war situation going on in the valley between Dioza and McCreary's whole like situation. So let's break everything down. Obviously, you have the sad aspect of like Bellamy did what he did. He poisoned Octavia, which to him it's like she could legitimately die from this. There might not be, because even like Jackson's like, I mean, who knows if this will really work out or not. And so it's kind of interesting because Clark at first is like, okay, don't worry. When it's all said and done, it'll work out. We'll get peace and everything will be good. But then she kind of has a shift of tone when it becomes Indra tries to back things down. But Nathan, I did not see that coming. I was like, is it going to be that easy? Nathan stepping up like that. To be fair, he was kind of put in that position because it seemed like you could make the argument that, I mean, and I believe it to be true, that Octavia didn't trust Indra as much because Indra questioned her, which is like this whole blood raining situation. It's like, no one questions me. What I say goes, like, which is crazy considering the fact is Indra's always been there, her mentor after everything. Like, she's the reason Octavia's gotten to the point she's gotten to throughout this entire series. She's always been there, been a friend and ally, almost like a mother to her. But Nathan saying like, no, we're not going to go for peace. Blood Raina wanted war. We're going to go to war and take back the valley ourselves. I'm like, man. So it leaves them, Bellamy and Indra, with one choice. They have to go to Maddie about this and make her the commander. Once she's commander, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But the fact of the matter is, Clark isn't for it. And that's something too, like Bellamy's bringing him, it's like, you were literally pushing that on Luna. You were going to push it on yourself if it meant doing the right thing. So it's like, but the thing is, it's different this time because Clark is different, because Maddie's like a little, like, that's my little girl, essentially. Like, Maddie's like essentially her daughter. And it's just like, now because before now, because she never really had any attachment to Luna. That's one thing. This is like her, and if she has to sacrifice herself, fine and dandy, then she'll do that. But it's not Maddie, because like I said, those motherly instincts kicked in, and she will protect her child and do whatever it takes. And that kind of sucks because like Bellamy's like, I'm not trying, like, because even Bellamy, Gaia, and Indra are just like, we don't want to do this. I mean, even though, because Indra justifies it by being like, oh, she's the same age Lexa was when she became the commander and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's just kind of like, I mean, it's give and take, because I'm like, I don't 100% see where Clark's Clark's main issue is the fact is, if Maddie becomes commander, it's going to be an issue because Octavia's going to want her dead, because it's a threat to her power and position that she's held for the past 6 years. So there's that. It would undermine everything that she's done for the past 6 years. But at the same time, it's like, I wonder if there were circumstances were different, would she be all for it? I mean, because she saw what Lexa was trying to do. Lexa tried to handle things a different way, than things had kind of been. Like the moment they met and, Clark kind of changed her mind about how she approached things. So I'm curious if we were under different circumstances, would she be kind of like, okay, or would she kind of put up the same fight? Like I said, it's more so the extenuated circumstances of Octavia and her people would kill Maddie. So that's, just like I said, her mother instincts to protect her just kick in. So that's her biggest problem. But it's like, you talked about, I mean, you were like, cause that's the thing too. It's like, you're willing to say we can do this and that. Like, oh, we got to take Octavia out. But the moment it becomes to someone that's important to you, like legitimately Bellamy put stakes out there by poisoning his own sister. That says a lot, Like, even though he was kind of like, okay, like, he could, like I said, in last episode, even Monty called him out. It's like, oh, we're not willing. I mean, he was hoping it wouldn't kill her, but afterwards he started realizing like there's a chance it might kill his sister, but it's like, this is all for the purposes of peace. So it's, am I saying the ends justify the means and the type of thing? I don't know. It's a shitty situation all across the board. So, but, I was not, that just kept turning and turning. Because even though Indra doesn't believe like Gaia does, even Gaia's like, okay, I understand, like, this is the right way to make sure that no one has to die. But the moment, like, she woke up, the moment Octavia, I was like, what? She's getting better. And she's like, my brother poisoned me. I'm like, ooh, what you going to do about this? Indra's like, yeah, I can't do anything about that. Knocks Jackson out, kills one of the guards. I'm like, whoa. And now Octavia sees Indra for who she is. But Indra's like, yeah, but you became, it's like, it's my fault. Because even she said that to her and Gaia, it's like, it's our fault Octavia became the way she is. We put her in that position. It's like, we made her shoulder all of that, you know, and once again, referencing the Darky Witch, I'm curious to see them tie that back in, like, find out what exactly, because that's something that we won't talk about. I'm assuming, as something Kane's the first person to bring it up, it must have been some crazy shit for, like, because it's the reason why Kane kind of ended up deserting this whole situation as well and kind of ended up leaving with Abby just because of that. I mean, he's kind of, you know, that whole circumstance. So it's like, because whatever it is, even Octavia doesn't want to talk about it. Like, it's kind of what's done is done. Leave it at that. It's kind of, there must have been some like heavy shit that went down that they're so shameful they don't even want to talk about it, you know? And for her, it's like, I pushed you towards that darkness and I made you shoulder everything alone. Like, at least this way, when it's all said and done, you'll see the wisdom in what we're doing. Just because it's like, this way, we make sure everyone lives on both sides. Like, there's not going to be mass casualties on this side or that side. We can find, like, I mean, once again, that's what they started this whole series with, was trying to build common ground between the Grounders and Sky Crew. And it took a roundabout way, like, in the sense of just so much stuff went down. But that eventually became the point, you know? Obviously, there's been skirmishes here and there that have kind of disrupted that, but still, you get the point when I'm trying to get across of, like, we did that back then, we can do this now. I mean, hell, you brought all these different clans together to become one crew, but it's like, who you needed to be in those 6 years was who we needed you to be, and that's not who we need you to be now. We need you to be someone who's not just so bloodthirsty, who can see the bigger picture in this situation, because it's like, you know, because of those 6 years, Octavia's got blinders on of like, this is how things have been run for 6 years. Like, now we're out here on the surface, this is how they have to be run. We have to kill them and take them. Anyone that's, you know, if you're not with one crew, you're an enemy of one crew, so. But then the twist of Clark, like, turning on Indra and Bellamy and Gaia, because for her it's like, because even Octavia says herself, it's like, you don't want to kill me because you're literally the one person who wants her not to go through ascension more than I do, you know? So it's like, damn, dude. And she's super pissed at Bellamy, because even something Maddie said, Maddie was like, Clark will never forgive you for this, but for Bellamy it's like, I have to make this, because it's like, this is about protecting my family, you know? That includes, that's Echo, Murphy, and Maury, and Raven. Like, those are his family too. And it's like, you're at, because Clark literally telling him not to do this. It's like, you're telling me to do the one thing that could potentially stop all of this. And at the same time, it kind of makes Clark look extremely selfish, but at the same time, it's like, can you blame her for being selfish? It's just like, it's kind of like, it's always that thing of like, is one life more important than another? Like, couldn't you just be there to protect Maddie? Everyone would be there to back her up. Yes, there'd be people, you know, it's just, like I said, you can't help but see both sides. You understand both sides, but it's still just kind of like, man, that's kind of super selfish, you know? And she leaves. Still, even in the end, when they were walking away, like, okay, we'll just leave, because Octavia knows, like, Clark doesn't want this for Maddie, but still goes, yeah, orders her dude that's there to still kill Maddie anyways, which once again showed you just how bloodthirsty Octavia was. I mean, it sucks that thing just kind of escalated to that point. But I don't think we've seen that in a while, because, like, legitimately the last official commander, like, obviously there were people heading that direction, like Luna, and obviously, but it's like, no one has taken it since Lexa. I don't remember that really coming up exactly how, I mean, because this is our first time seeing a new commander being born, because obviously when we got, like, early in the series, it's like, yeah, Lexa was already commander, so. But the fact of the matter is, with it inside, like, she knows everything that the previous commanders know, like, obviously their spirits and stuff like that. Once again, it's technology, so there's a lot more to it than that. Like, essentially, your memories and everything are tapped into that thing. It's like an always evolving, like, technology that kind of grows with each person that it uses. So, like, the dude that's there, like, Maddie calls him out. It's like, dude, I know your name. I know what clan you served. Like, you served Lexa loyally, serve me. And he literally bowed down, which is like, wow. Like I said, I didn't remember that coming up like that, the flame can do that. That was crazy. Like I said, like, I might be remembering, like, forgetting, but like I said, Lexa was already in power, so it's kind of like no, it's like all these people she already knows. Maybe it came up earlier in the series about like the flame having that potential and stuff like that, but it's still kind of like, whoa. I was like, that's some crazy stuff. But once again, it's like we've never seen a new commander utilizing it. It's like, yeah, these are people she's never met before, and she's like, I know exactly who you are. It's like, holy crap. So that's pretty neat, you know? Especially because it's like, oh yeah, this is a dude that that the machine remembers, because it's like, yeah, you served under Alexa, so like now Maddie had. Once again, I mean, that's the whole point of the flame in the first place, but still, it's kind of cool seeing it applied in this situation. Sadly, Clark killed the dude because like the last thing she needs is him reporting back like, yeah, you know, because it kind of creates the problem all over again of Octavia still needs to remove her from the equation. Which even Maddie's like, but this means Gaia, Indra, and Bellamy will die. She's like, they made their own. Because I figured as much. Like, when it's all said and done, Maddie's not going to, like, bat an eye towards the situation. Like, yeah, her big motivation was helping Clark, but I think it also is like, yeah, she understood a dire situation. Like, this could potentially lead to peace. So I'm curious to see, like, in the next episode, like, what that turns into. Because it's like, I think this is the first time Clark's probably ever done anything where, like, Maddie understands. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm still going back to wondering, like, why you revealed yourself to Octavia in the first place. Once again, I guess it's because in her mind, she thought of Octavia as, like, no, this is the Octavia from the story. So she wasn't willing to, like, she didn't think, like, Clark's worries were warranted. I guess it was kind of like the whole thing. Because I feel like they never really specified, like, why exactly she did it. I mean, she did it because it's like she didn't want Clark to have to worry about him. See, it's all good, Octavia. You know, so that's the whole thing. So there's that complicated situation. We have Bellamy, Indra, and Gaia most likely. Well, obviously they're being kind of held on hold, but it's like, I don't know if they're going to do the whole pit thing of like potentially fighting for your freedom, because it's like, well, you're traitors and stuff like that. But that's usually how they handle things. But first and foremost, they have to deal with the war. So there's that. So we'll kind of circle back to that most likely potentially. But you do see it still kind of hurts Octavia, because it's like, yeah, the person that betrayed her was her brother, and now she has no choice but to kill her brother. And it's just kind of, you see her tearing up a little bit, and just kind of like, maybe everything associated with Bellamy might push her to not make this choice. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. Maybe for her, there is no going back. I have to be Blood Reina. Blood Reina, like who she was as Octavia is gone. Blood Reina is all that remains. Like, she's probably hollowed herself out because of those 6 years. And it's like, that's all that's left of her is Blood Reina. So that might be, there might not be any going back to being Octavia. Maybe there is, because the fact that she's crying about that means that there is a bit of Octavia still in there. Like, I don't want to have to kill my brother, but I might not have a choice. So we'll see how things play out. Then on the flip side of things, you have things kind of heating up. McCreary and Dioza kind of like the back and forth of like, oh yeah, like I know you try to kill me, you want me dead. It's like, oh, I know you want me, you know. So they keep bringing it up. I'm curious to see what that ends up turning into, the whole Vincent situation. Just because like Dioza's like, yeah, don't forget, yeah, don't get too comfortable around him, Doc, because it's like he's still a lion. You took the thorn out the lion, but it's still a lion. I mean, he's still in the camp with like Abby when it's all said and done, so it's kind of like, okay, what the hell is that going to turn into? But nevertheless, they incite, because everyone's got different opinions about how this should be handled. Echo is kind of like, we need to just kill Shaw and bounce. But then obviously Raven's like, no, we don't have to do that, which is kind of interesting because it does seem like it sparks like something between Raven and Shaw. I mean, to be fair, she hasn't been with anyone. No, there was that dude. Was that during season 3? Yeah. There's that dude that she kind of had a thing for, like, because like that was like the first person she had been with since the whole Finn situation. But it seemed like, I mean, they kind of bond over it and everything. I mean, it's like it'd be a complicated relationship, but it's like you see them kind of bonding, and I was like, oh, is that kind of? It seemed like they're hinting at that, and I'm heavily hinting at that being a thing, but it's just some kind of like joking and stuff like that, because he's like, oh yeah, like can't we just ever have like a casual conversation on the lines? Like, why is every time we talk it turns into like it's like a big thing? And initially he didn't want to leave and run off with them because it's like, well, yeah, because I'm the only pilot. Like Dioza would never let me go. Like I'd forever be followed, and that put you in danger. Was like, oh, you care about Raven being in there? What? He's like, I don't know why I care about that, but it's like, huh, that's so interesting. And even kind of joking about the fact that it's like, well, you can come with us or we can kill you. So like, how about that for a lighter conversation? He's like, okay. And I'm like I said, that's kind of a neat situation. because even Echo, when it was all said and done, everything kind of being incited, Echo was kind of like, okay, I'm not going to kill him. Because it's a hard situation on like that side too, because it's like obviously this is all them acting without realizing and knowing that, like, oh yeah, there's the whole like peace situation that's kind of being potentially set up by Clark and Bellamy. So there's that. I mean, obviously don't know about a breakdown of that, but still, like. And then you have like Murphy doing the Murphy thing, inciting some shit, like telling McCreary, like, yeah, she's got, Dioza didn't tell you about the cure? Oh, man, that sucks. And he even incited everything by throwing a rock. It's like, and Murphy got like such a smug smile on his face. I remember when he did the whole McCreary thing and came back, and you're like, God, your poker face sucks. Stop being so smug about it. Like, okay, we get it. You did it already. It's so good. They went through all this trouble of doing all of that. And then it's like, yeah, we got the Civil War going. Let's get out of here. But then they run into Kane, and Kane's like, no, the peace treat thing is going on. Echo's kind of like, no, Octavia's not going to be down with a whole surrender situation. So they're kind of being like, nah, we got to do, which is definitely going to get more complicated when they eventually get back, because it's going to be like, oh, so Bellamy's locked up. Echo ain't going to like that. None of them are going to like that. I'm curious to see what happens to the whole Harper and Monty situation when they potentially find out like what he did. Like, can we see them in this episode? So I'm curious what they're going to do and say about this. I mean, it's something even Bellamy says, like, there always has to be another way, and it's like, I mean, their other way kind of slips away with Clark. I mean, not by her own choice, but by Clark's choice. With the Maddie situation. So, once again, you see the whole Maury being so happy. It's like, yeah, John being John. But then it's kind of like him staying behind. And she's like, what are you doing? It's like, I got to. Like, it's Abby, So, helping out Kane. Once again, you also got to give mad props to Charmaine, because it's like, yo, even pregnant, still kicking ass. Like, holy crap. Because I'm about to say, like, no one's brought that up. But I'm like, you can clearly see through her armor she's pregnant. Like, because I thought it was a lot more hidden to what it is, but it's like, no, actually look at it. It's like, it's pretty obvious she's pregnant. I was like, has that conversation not come up? I was super scared. I was like, protect your belly. Because don't tell me that'd be the shittiest thing if like something happened to your baby now. I was like, moments came close. But then I love that moment with McCreary. It's like, you want to kill your unborn baby? And he slices his throat with a piece of glass and is like, yeah, besides, go ahead and let you know, it's a girl, which is like, I kind of had an inkling that was going to be the thing, but it's like, I wasn't 100% sure. So that gets complicated. That makes McCree even more, I mean, he wants Dioza dead, but he needs her alive long enough for her to have their baby. So there's that whole situation. But Kane was like, I mean, and I was wondering whether or not that was true or not, whether that was complete and utter bull. Because it seemed like more so than anything, like what Dioza was originally planning was like, oh yeah, what we do is first we cure everyone that I trust, let McCree die, and then it's like, oh yeah, then we cure everyone else too. It's like, that was kind of the plan. Like, she just wanted to remove McCree from the problem because he's too much of an issue. Like, it's kind of like the whole, and I think that's such a beautiful thing that the show is doing, of the comparisons and the similarities, because it's like her with McCreary was who like her. I mean, her whole situation being in this position with all these like bad people, she was this person because she needed to be. Like, she's around bloodthirsty monsters and killer. Yes, she has her own issues and stuff like that, but she became who she became because of the situation called for. Just like Shaw, he helped all of them because he knew the inmates were going to die. So he kind of went down this route, not because he wanted to, because he thought it was the right thing to do. Kind of like Octavia becoming who she became, just because it's like, that's who she needed to be in those 6 years. And it's just kind of interesting, like who they become is kind of completely outweighing who they really are at heart. It's kind of like, it's them butting heads on that. I mean, to be fair, Charmaine's kind of like the more voice of reason, because I think Kane kind of sparked that in her, which once again makes me wonder, it's like, are we going to see like a Kane and Dioza situation? But it's like, well, there's the Abby and Kane situation, but then I kind of got a little complicated because Abby's going through her thing right now with the whole, Kane's like, choose me or the drugs type of thing, but we'll see. It's kind of interesting, like, all of a sudden everyone's out in the woods, like those on Dioza's side that escape. So everyone that's there is like 100% McCreary, and it's like, even he's 100% like, nah, I'm gonna do what Dioza couldn't do. She didn't want to go to war. Bump that, we're going to war. So it's got like, you got two of the most hot-headed people at the top ready to go to war on both sides. Like, the more like people who are like, now we can stop all of this, are kind of out. Because I'm curious, like, when it's all said and done, what does Clark have planned? Because when this is said and done, like, if things go bad, like, I don't think you'll have the biggest issue of like Maddie. I don't think will forgive you if things go bad, because it's like, I have the potential to stop this, but you won't let me, you know? And it's like a lot of people die. The people you care about die. Because it's almost sad, because it's almost putting that thing of like, Maddie's more important than the rest of you SOBs. Like, I don't care about you as, I mean, like, not saying that's what Clark's saying, but you know, you can't help but imply that by your actions. So once again, it's a complicated situation all across the board. So I'm very fascinated to see where this all goes, because it's like, yeah, Murphy's there with Kane protect, like they have to protect Dioza, considering the fact this is like, yeah, we set this all up so you guys can kind of pretty much rip each other apart, but now it's like, we need to protect you because you're the only one that can make sure that peace happens on your side. So they got to make sure that she actually gets back control. Interestingly enough, considering the fact is they sparked everything. I don't even think that really clicked in my head last episode when Imori and John brought McCreary back. I don't think it really clicked in my head that what that was really sparking. So, like I said, a great episode. Some crazy turn of events went down, and I'm so fascinated to see where all this takes us in the next episode. I have no idea how this is all going to play out, dude. It's not going to be good. Things are going to get extremely bloody. So. And now moving on to the series premiere of The Outpost. A very interesting premiere. A lot of interesting things went down, kind of setting up the story. Obviously, we get introduced to our main protagonist, Talon, as she's basically looking for revenge against the person who killed her. Like I said, I went into this knowing a little bit of the premise, but like, I think it's actually kind of a good thing. Nothing else was really shown too much about this show. Like, I've seen probably like altogether, like there's like maybe a full, I don't know at this point in time, but initially when I was looking at trailers and stuff, like I've only seen two. One's like 30 seconds, the other one's like a minute. Not a lot being told about what's going down in this series. So basically she's getting revenge for her family who were killed. She's from a group. Someone earlier in the episode, when she was younger, referred to her as a skag, but it's like they're black bloods. It seems like they're kind of like elves, borderlining because of their ears and stuff like that. It seems like, I guess they are the only one of their kind, because it seemed like they were all in that one village. Like how that came, because it seemed like there's normal humans and then they're just black bloods. Like beyond like that, like we don't really know what the differences are. Probably, I mean, who knows? Maybe you never will. Maybe they can take more than like typical humans can, just because it's like she's not dead. And she gets stabbed twice later on, so I'm kind of like, yeah, you must not like, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. That might just be like her resilience and stuff like that, because it's like, I mean, everyone else, because I think about it, it's like, yeah, other people kind of went down kind of easily yet hard, like to an arrow or something. I guess it all comes down to whether or not like any vital organs or anything get hit. But nevertheless, it's kind of sad, even brutal, like the fact that she even cut up her own ears. Like the fact is her ears are very distinct, very elf-like, and she ended up cutting off the tips of them just so she could hide the fact is that she's one. Is like, holy crap. Because we see that there was a family she came across, because it's like the dad was like, I know, like she's a black blood. You can tell by her ears and stuff like that. Someone wanted them all dead for a reason, which is kind of sad that like a whole bunch of people were just massacred. Just kind of like, oh, there had to be a reason for it. Why couldn't you? Not much empathy. The mom, the wife, she showed empathy for it, but it's like, I'm curious, like, did she ever stay with that family long, or was it like after she cut her ears? Like, I mean, it taught her that lesson, but beyond that, we never actually got to see her, whether or not she stayed with them or not. I mean, it seems like, I mean, maybe that's something we'll kind of learn about as the series progresses, but it's like, I would assume over those 13 years, she just kind of moved around. It's kind of sad. There's that guy at the beginning she had that scam with, like they were hustling cars and stuff like that, and he died protecting her from a gray skin, which I'm assuming those are going to be those are like trolls or something like that, or gnomes, you know? Because I made comparisons like the Shannara Chronicles or something like that. So I'd assume just by the way they look and stuff like that, that's what they're supposed to represent. But it seems like right now, mostly it's humans. So far, it seems like grayskins. There's going to be some other like mystical creatures, as we saw that deer-like thing in her past. But it's like, it seems more so it's just like pure human race, black bloods, and then there's like grayskins. There might be other things kind of in that same vein, but it's kind of like grayskins are just kind of seen as like monsters. But nevertheless, poor bastard died protecting her. I was like, because I thought, for a second, it's like, oh, we're about to go our separate ways, because it's like, oh, she's like, yeah, she's got her plans, and he's like, you know, we could keep this going. She's like, hustling cars. He's like, no, like us. I was like, ooh, she probably doesn't see it that way, but it still kind of hurt her when he died. But it was kind of like, oh, you poor bastard. I was like, you're going on a journey. You're going to die, aren't you? He dies. I'm like, okay, I'm not too shocked, because I thought they were going to split up and never see each other, maybe run into each other later on, but still, you know. what's very interesting about her, and it was something I went into this, I brought up when I was talking about the watch list for this, was like, what is her whole thing? Like, because I remember reading that she's supposed to have like some supernatural power. We see a little bit of it. Whatever it was, her mom had it and it passed to her. So maybe it's not like a all black bloods thing, only specific people. Maybe it's kind of like a thing where it's kind of like it passes only to specific people. Like there are chosen people and her mom was chosen and she passed it on to her. And maybe that's why wiping out the black bloods are needed, because whatever the hell that power is, which is pretty cool, it seems like you're tapping into another dimension. Like her mom tries to summon it but gets hit with an arrow, and she ends up summoning it. Talon ends up summoning it later on, and it blocks an arrow for her. It looks like it's like a demon or monster or something comes out of a portal. We only saw its arm, but I was like, that's pretty neat. It's like, so you can do that. It's like some kind of little bug or something. I'm curious to find out like what that ends up being about. Is it a thing that's in her like connected to this thing? Is it kind of like a piece of it kind of like there and she can summon it, or like what is it? Because it's interesting because her mom was like, because the dude was like, oh, you need to summon them, but it's like the mom was like, we made an oath. It's like whatever those things are, they must be so bad that they were kind of like, because her mom was all about not fighting back against people. So I guess it's because it's like people already were afraid of them, like for whatever, like, you know, because the question is like, why are the Black Bloods so hated? Because once again, this is just the premiere, so we don't know like how generally most people felt about the Black Bloods. We know how this one particular dude was like, yeah, we need to wipe them all out or it's all for naught. Like, you know, I guess it's because they're a danger because of what they can do with this situation. Like I said, that seems like it's just a Black Blood thing, but maybe only specific ones at a time can do it, like if you're chosen. So I don't know. We'll see what that ends up being. Whatever the hell that thing out of the portal ends up being. She's used to that one time. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's come up over the past 13 years. It probably wasn't even by choice. It's probably like, you know, subconsciously that she ended up summoning it. But we'll see. There's also the plaguelings thing going on, which is weird. Like, I wasn't expecting a kind of zombie infection type of thing, which is not even like a zombie. Well, it's kind of like a zombie infection, but it's also like a parasite. It just kind of makes you look all... It kind of reminds, if I had to compare it to anything like zombie wise, it kind of reminds me of like something from like The Last of Us, kind of like runners, kind of runners from the grounders, kind of more human-like, but you can kind of see like the infection and stuff like that, which is interesting. Like just crap ton horde of them. There's that dude who got bitten because it's like, oh, they try to infect you, but it's like, is that dude not infected? The fact is that he got, like, that thing like went to its leg, but I guess maybe as long as it doesn't puncture, maybe as long as it doesn't go in your mouth or something, like as long as it doesn't get in your body that way. I mean, I'd assume any part of your body it hits. Like I said, I'd assume zombie rules, like you get bitten, the virus is transferring to you type of thing, but maybe not. But it just seemed like kind of like oh yeah, we're just moving past that. Like, isn't it? I mean, the dude's just kind of like, oh, I hate these things. I don't know. Maybe he has protection on his leg that kept that from happening, or maybe it doesn't work like that. I don't know. Other things to kind of bring up is the fact is, side note, Talon's pretty badass. Like, she's pretty skillful. Like, and I'm wondering where, like, I guess she, like, because that's another thing we have to think about too. It's like, once again, we don't know much about those 13 years, but it's like, who trained her? Did she train herself or what? I mean, because she's got some pretty badass moves. It seemed like she was well, looks like she can kind of handle her own anyway, because she was kind of beating up that dude that was kind of a dick who shot that arrow at that creature, and she was super pissed at him, and they're telling, oh, stay back, you black, blah, 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 that type of crap. So I'm like, maybe there was already something there, but, you know, someone helped her refine her skills. Like, she's pretty good with the sword. I don't know why, because obviously because of the whole knight aesthetic and stuff like that, part of me goes, man, some of those swords kind of, they're not katanas. Katana isn't the right word, but they have a specific shape similar to a katana. You know how a katana's blade, it's not a typical knight sword, which was kind of interesting to me. Like, knights, you typically, they're swords you kind of think broadswords. You don't really think of a sword that kind of like thins out like that. You kind of think of a more blade that's kind of on the wider side, and you wouldn't think of a thinner sword like that. So that was kind of like, I was like, is this kind of like a combination of like a medieval and like Japanese like aesthetic or something like that? Just because like the swords, like I said, it just kind of caught my attention, which is kind of interesting. The best thing I compare it to, like sword wise, obviously, like I said, aside from a katana, like if you're familiar with Naruto, like in Shippuden, like Sasuke's sword, it has a design like that. Like, obviously it has more of a, do they even have like guards on them? I don't remember if I was paying enough attention, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like a blade design like that, it's just kind of interesting. I know I'm getting on there. If you don't know anything, I love swords. They're like my favorite type of weapons in any type of thing. Like if someone's using a damn sword, it's just the coolest thing to me. You know, I think that's one of the reasons why I like medieval fantasy aesthetics a lot, because it's like, oh my god, everyone's going to use like a damn sword. Like crossbows, they're fine or whatever. It's like, nah, swords are cool, man. I've been obsessed with swords since I was a little kid, and just adding that in there just for context. But nevertheless, a lot of interesting characters we got to meet. We got to meet Garrett. We got to also meet his dad. Wasn't expecting that to be like, oh yeah, the way he was calling you Garrett and everything. I was like, oh man, that guy's just kind of a dick, isn't he? He's just kind of, it's like, oh yeah, that's my dad. It's like, your dad? It's like, well, it makes sense. I mean, it's because it makes sense why he wouldn't call you captain or whatever. Well, he called you captain, but then he was afterwards like, Garrett. And it's like, it falls on you, Garrett. And it's like, okay. So now it makes sense why he kind of talks down to you like that and stuff. It's your dad and everything. That girl that he ends up meeting with later, I wonder, is that like his fiance or girlfriend or whatever? I mean, obviously, like, it seemed like an intimate relationship. What's kind of interesting at first, because I kept wondering, I was like, she's talking about the fact is that, Magmore was after her and stuff like that, a Covenant Knight. I'm like, why would she be after her? And the fact is, she's being like so shady and stuff like that. I'm like, what? I was like, is she lying just because she's following Talon everywhere? I'm like, what? Is she lying? Like, why is she doing that? Like, is she trying to see what? And then the guy recognizes her. I'm like, what is that all about? And then it clicked in my head because I forgot about it. They brought it up earlier in the episode. Like this whole like current power system with the Prime Order kind of runs things and kind of like the situation in this realm. And it's like before that, it seemed like they kind of had like a monarchy type of situation because it's like, oh yeah, the royals, but it's like the current power took over and wiped out most of the royals. I can only assume she's the last. Is why that, because she's kind of got that pompous like princess air about her, just like, my dad runs the Outpost and yada, yada, yada. So it's kind of like, okay, so she's hiding out here. So like, I guess they're kind of like old school, like a lot of those people there, at least maybe Garrett, maybe his dad too. Maybe that's what the whole Outpost is. It's kind of like the remnants of people who serve the royal family. Maybe that is what that's all about. Like maybe he's kind of like, a head knight soldier and stuff like that. Well, and I feel like that with that, situation with, like typically you don't kind of like see, social status wise, a soldier and a princess like that doesn't happen. So it must be something just between them. But I clicked in my head. It's like, right. So she's probably like the last of the royals, like her and her family are the last of the royals. So it's like they kind of have to be in hiding because if the Covenant Knights find out about him, they're a danger for the current role of power. And they'll most likely end with them being like, oh, we found them and wiped them out or locked them up, depending on what they did with the rest of the royals. They just say they took them down. Doesn't mean they're all dead. They might not have gotten, the treatment like the Blackbloods did. They might have just gotten arrested and just put into the deepest, darkest dungeon. Or they may be dead. Who knows? The fact is that even Garrett is worried about it kind of makes you think it probably is more like death. Because even Talon trying to piece that together, like, why is she so freaking out about it? And why are you? So it seems like it's not just Talon that has her secrets. Garrett and that lady, who, like I said, once again, I'm assuming is a princess, is one too. Have their own secrets as well, as what I'm trying to say. There's an old guy that was watching Talon in a bar too. I'm like, what is that all about? Then there's her whole fight with Magmore, and it's like, that didn't end the way I thought it would. It's like, oh, they both stabbed each other. I was like, oh man, he summoned the strength to pull the sword out and stab her again, which is like, well, I was kind of like, man, she's pretty resilient. That's why I was thinking, like, is it a Blackblood thing? But then I remembered, it's like, oh yeah, no, one of those people at her village gone. So it's just probably a situation of like, she's just that resilient. I guess revenge is a strong motivation to kind of keep going. I love that which kind of shows you how much of a punk you are. You got stabbed once and you're dead. She got stabbed twice. She's like passing out and stuff like that, but she ain't dead. Because he ended up talking about the wolf being there. So I'm assuming that was kind of interesting to me. Like the wolf was initially going to target her, but then he saw her getting defended by that thing. And then she talks about him missing. It's like, he didn't miss the second time. He purposely let you go. But I guess maybe she's just kind of like, it's like, why? Like, is it because she is a little girl and he had reservations about killing a kid? Like I said, the first shot, it seemed like he was aiming for, but then it was like, oh no, she showed what she could do. And he was like, oh, that's interesting. So what that's about, I don't know. Maybe he has some kind of skin in this game because there are 7 mercenaries. She never actually got to see the wolf's face. So that might be who saved her, might be someone else. Because part of me was thinking, like, is that old man supposed to be the wolf? I mean, it's been 13 years, but even Magmore doesn't look like he's gotten like that. Like, it hasn't been long enough to be, oh, is that him or is that someone else? Like, what's that all about? Because I was kind of under the impression maybe something didn't happen to her brother. I mean, she found her brother's body, but I was like, I guess that's kind of like what they're trying to cut away from, because it's like they're probably not all about showing like a kid dying and stuff like that. You know, the CW is probably like, hey, yeah, we'll just kind of, yeah, that happened off screen. Like, we're not going to show that on the screen. That's why I was kind of wondering, like, oh, did she think her brother was dead, but he's been alive this entire time? It's like, no, she came and found his body, so never mind. Sucky being like the last of your kind in that type of situation, you know? Because I thought it was just her family that died. It's like, it's much more than that. Not just her family, her entire village died, so kind of puts her almost on some like Avatar: The Last Airbender type of thing. But I mean, mainly because of the way Aang was raised, it didn't turn into a whole revenge thing. But obviously, like Talon is just kind of like, no, I'm full on revenge, you know. So I mean, she's been basically living with that revenge and need for more revenge for the past 13 years. So it is kind of interesting because her mom does touch on it, because I brought it up earlier because I was like, right, how does most people feel? Her mom brought it up that not everyone hates Black Bloods. Like, obviously the lady, the mom that was like, oh yeah, come along. Like, she didn't hate Black Bloods. I don't think the dad in particular hated Black Bloods, but he's more like, yeah, the fact of the matter is that's going to cause a problem for us. So we'll ultimately see what ends up happening, because I'm curious to see like what this all turns into. Like, obviously, like, who's this mysterious person helping her? I want to say it's Jonzo, which I love that, and it's just kind of he's hitting on her and stuff like, oh, I'm making you a great drink and stuff like that. Like, yo, you're probably tired and everything, and she's just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go to my room, and he's like, oh, she's like, alone to sleep. I'm like, the fact that you have to like explain that is so good. I was like, he's hitting on you hard, which is interesting considering, like, oh, I was like, because immediately you just can't help yourself. You're like, Garrett's love interest, but it's like, oh, Jonzo, but it's like, you don't seem like you're interested in him, but that might still turn into something. I don't know. Part of me was wondering, is like, you don't think he's actually the wolf, do you? That's kind of what crossed my mind. I don't remember. I wasn't paying close enough attention to see what he was wearing to compare it to the person that saved her. I'd assume that is the wolf, but I don't know. Because I don't think it's the old man. Maybe it is. But I feel like he would have been a lot more. Because the wolf is like, oh yeah, he's always not too far out of sight. Like, the old man watching her was too damn obvious. The wolf wouldn't do that. So part of me was like, is it Jonzo? Is that what that ends up being? That'd be kind of interesting. Who knows? We'll see. Especially the way things turn out. So I'm curious to see. Because it's interesting. Because, like, literally with the title of the series, it's like, it seems like we're going to be in this one place, which is interesting considering there's just like this whole realm. So I'm curious to see like what happens. I mean, obviously they're just probably just giving it that title because that's probably where everything starts. I mean, her need for like, because first it's like she's got to track down like at least one down, 6 to go, 6 mercenaries and stuff about who got the tattoos and everything. It's kind of crazy because even Macmore's like, honestly, I didn't care. They're mercenaries. So it's like, yeah, I got hired to do the job. So I did the job. I have no skin in the game. The dude was like, kill the Black Bloods. I'm like, okay, cool. Which is kind of like shitty that you were so on board with just being like, okay, mindless murder, but okay. And so nonchalant about it. It's like, oh, you want revenge. Who did I kill? Your dad? Oh, I killed your mother. It didn't seem like he even really cared about like, oh, the Black Blood situation. Oh, well. He was so nonchalant about it. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I guess it's just kind of like whatever to you. So I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to me. So we do have, obviously, before Magmore dies, he does leave a message being like, oh yeah, there's still a Black Blood alive. So that's definitely going to get very interesting. Like I said, she's messed up her ear, so it's like, that's, as long as no one sees her bleed, no one's going to really know. Like, her defining feature was her ears, so it's like, now that's like, no one's going to know she's a Black Blood. So I'm curious to see everything kind of continue forth from here. Like I said, at least she's got one of technically 8 people. I say 8, well, 8, because now we also have to add in the person who hired him in the first place, which we saw him, just we don't 100% know who he is. You know, maybe he's a servant of the Prime Order, like what that's all about. And what that's all about in itself is like, what is the Prime Order? Is that kind of like a, oh yeah, we're like this like crazy good, well, I don't know, because it does, like I said, there seems like there are distinctions, because it's like, even like Garrett was kind of offended when Talon kind of compared him to like a Covenant Knight. He's like, no, like I'm a soldier, but I'm nothing like them, you know, because it seems like they're kind of like the big assholes of like the realm or whatever. Also seems like they're at war too with like the Greyskins, because it's like, oh, there's some camps here and there where at war with those monsters. It seems like they're the main enemy that like just on a daily basis everyone's kind of dealing with. But obviously Talon makes the comparison of like, yeah, but the Covenant soldiers are kind of assholes too. Like, you saw the people kind of getting arrested at that beginning. It's like, we didn't do anything wrong. You came in here talking about illegal card game and stuff like that. You just started arresting people for no reason. Just, some power tripping crap, So I'm curious, like, what that ends up being. Like I said, there's a lot left to kind of suss out from the show. Like I said, this is just a premiere, so we got a little taste of the world. So I'm very interested to kind of see things kind of get expanded upon, like, learn more about the world and, like, what's on the up and up with the whole thing. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good